Hello everyone, how are you? Today I'll show you how to create a curve animation, a rolling animation and a bending animation effect in Blender. I will animate walls and floors, but you can translate these techniques to any other object. Okay, let's begin. Let's go to camera view and in edit mode delete these three faces. Add a solidify modifier to make the walls thicker and enable even thickness. Select the floor and separate it by selection. Press 2 to go to edge selection mode, and now enable X-ray mode. Select the bottom edges of the walls. I'm gonna enable the snapping tool and move the walls down. And now let's separate this wall. I want to move this wall to fill this gap, so go back to object mode, select this wall and back to edit mode, select this edge and move towards the other wall. Back to object mode, and to make the walls look smoother we could add a bevel modifier. And let's give the same modifiers to the other two meshes. Ctrl L and copy modifiers. To create the first effect, we need a simple deform modifier. It's not bending much, so we need to add a few loop cuts in edit mode. And shade smooth. Choose bend, and as you can see the bending occurs from the middle because of the placement of the pivot point. I want this type of animation instead. In edit mode, select this bottom edge loop and cursor to selected. Set the origin to the 3D cursor, and now it bends as it should. Okay, let's go to camera view to animate this. Set the angle at 0, choose the final frame and I to insert a keyframe. Now let's go to the beginning of the timeline, change the angle to wherever you like and insert a keyframe. Let's take a look. To add a bounce effect, duplicate the last keyframe and between both keyframes, set the angle of the modifier to make the wall go forward a bit and insert a keyframe. Let's take a look. And we could do this one more time. Go to the last keyframe, bend the wall back this time, choose a smaller value than the previous keyframe and set a keyframe. And we need to duplicate a keyframe where the angle is at 0. Let's see. And we could add one more, this time forward, and remember to choose a smaller number. And now bend it back a tiny bit so the effect decreases. And for the last frame, set the angle at 0 and insert a keyframe. Let's see the final result. And you could add as many keyframes as you would like to create a more stylized bounce effect. Okay, now we could add a reveal effect. I need to avoid animating the x-axis, otherwise I will get an animation like this one and not like this one. Remember, our pivot point is set at the bottom, and let's go to the transform panel. Choose the frame where you want your animation to end and set a scale keyframe for the 3 axes. In frame 1, scale to 0 and set a keyframe for the Y and the Z axis only. And here it is. Okay, let's move on to our next effect. I'm gonna apply the location. Now the object origin is back to the global origin, and let's set the 3D cursor there as well. Add a Bezier curve. In edit mode, rotate the curve. Select this control point and scale to 0 on the Y-axis to straighten it up. Now let's move the entire curve and add a few subdivisions. I want a curve that goes like this, and I'm gonna use the annotation tool to have a visual help of the shape I want to achieve. Now we need to move the control points to create this shape. Here I made a mistake, the curve should go like this instead, so let's fix it. And now that we are out of control points, let's start extruding. The curve does not look smooth, so let's rotate these points until it looks good. We need a control point between these two. Let's hide the annotations to see better, and let's keep working on our curve. Select all and smooth the control points. Let's make some other changes, and I will make more changes later as well. Remember, you could make any type of shape you like. Shade smooth, and one more time smooth control points. Now rotate on the Z-axis and let's place it. Add a curve modifier and set our Bezier curve as the curve object. We're gonna need the transform panel, and in edit mode we need to add a few subdivisions to this mesh. Now we need to see which axis looks the way we like, not this one. Let's keep trying. And I think this one is our winner. Take the 3D cursor to the bottom control point, and now set the origin to the 3D cursor. Okay, since we chose the Z-axis, we need to move the Z-axis to animate this wall along the curve. Let's set the wall's origin to the 3D cursor as well, and we need to place the wall again. And the wall is not completely straight, so let's move the curve up a bit until it is. Okay, now choose the final frame and in the transform panel set a location keyframe for the Z-axis only. Let's move to the beginning of the timeline and simply move the Z-axis and set a keyframe. Let's see. The animation is okay, but I cannot see most of it in camera view, so let's move the curve down in edit mode. And I'm gonna move this control point so the animation starts outside the camera view. And of course, now we need to tweak the location keyframes. And now we have this problem of the wall not being straight, so we simply need to tweak the curve. Let's straighten the curve, and let's move these 2 points up. Let's make a couple more adjustments. And back to object mode, we need to tweak the last location keyframe again. Remember to set the keyframe. Shade smooth. We could make a few more subdivisions to the plane so it curves a bit better. Let's see. Let's delete the annotation we made earlier. And let's move the keyframes to avoid the other wall hitting this one. I'm still not happy with these parts that look a bit wonky, so let's make the final changes to the curve. Let's add a few subdivisions, and make sure the curve looks smooth. Let me know in the comments if you'd like more tutorials like this one and if you're interested in a full animated room video tutorial. Okay, let's play it one more time. And let's fix this last keyframe. And here it is. If your animation looks a bit weird, try rotating points, smoothing vertices and recalculating handles. Now we can create another curve animation for the floor, and since you got the process already, we can work a bit faster. Set the origin to geometry, cursor to selected, and add a Bezier curve. Let's go to edit mode and rotate the curve on the z-axis. Straight the curve by scaling it to 0 on the x-axis. Let's move it. Move this endpoint, and now I'm gonna create a shape like this one. Extrude, extrude again, rotate, rotate this point. It looks fine to me, so now we can add a curve modifier to the floor. The x-axis seems about right, and remember to subdivide the plane. Shade smooth, and the animation is going to look something like this. Let's set the x-axis to 0 again. In frame 1, set a location keyframe for the x-axis. Choose the final frame for this animation, move on the x-axis until the floor looks correctly placed. And set a keyframe. If by any chance your floor looks crooked, there must be a control point that needs to be rotated. Let's go to camera view, and we need to extend this curve so the floor animation starts outside the frame. Let's see. We could set the animation to start from here, no need for it to start even further away from camera view. Let's set a keyframe, and we don't need this keyframe anymore, and move these keyframes we have here. And of course, after extending the curve, we need to fix the last keyframe. Set a keyframe. Let's take a look. Okay, let's move on to the next effect. I'm gonna use this plane we already have and duplicate it so we don't miss the work we just did. Hide the other plane and hide the curve as well. Let's remove the curve object, but don't delete the modifier, we're gonna use it later. Delete the keyframes and set the x-axis to 0. Okay, so for this one I'm gonna move the origin to the side, select this edge loop and set the 3D cursor. Set the origin and add a path. Let's go to edit mode and subdivide it. Let's show the normals to make sure we select this point that has these arrows pointing at it. Enable proportional editing. Let's zoom out since we need some space and rotate on the -y axis. And keep increasing the radius with the mouse wheel or with the page up keys. You might need to do this a few times until the animation looks good. And make sure the endpoint is in this position in relation to the floor, so now when we extrude, we have this shape. And now we can set this path as the curve object. It works, but we need to make a few changes. First, scale it in edit mode. Let's see. subdivide the plane a bit more. And to make it go in this direction, simply rotate the path. Gonna move the path in edit mode until the floor is where it's supposed to be. And now move the path on the y-axis, choose the final frame, set a keyframe, and back to frame 1, move the path along the y-axis until the floor disappears from camera view, and add a keyframe. Let's see. I want to subdivide the plane a bit more, and here we have some artifacts in this part, so let's scale the path in edit mode until it looks correct. Let's see. And of course, we need to tweak the path keyframes a bit. And let's move the floor to the position where it should be. Let's fix the set value. And here we have it. Time to increase or decrease the animation speed to make it look more pleasing by editing the animation curves. Let's begin with the curve floor animation. Go to the graph editor, select everything and frame. If you experience some lagging while playing the animation, you can always render a preview. Okay, so this is our animation, and what we could do is select this keyframe and move this handle. Now the animation decreases its speed as it reaches the end. I'm gonna undo this to show you another possibility. Select all, choose cubic, and ease out. The curve has changed its shape, and now the animation is faster at the beginning and slows down at the end. If we chose ease in instead, now we have the opposite type of shape, and the motion starts slowly and picks up some velocity at the end. As you can see, you have plenty of options to play with. Now let's see what we can do to this wall animation. Let's move this handle. By pressing Ctrl, you enable snapping to the axis you are moving along, since I want to prevent the handle going up to avoid a bounce effect. You can also hold the middle mouse button to constrain the movement without the snapping effect. Again, this type of curve will decelerate the motion at the end. Let's undo this and let's repeat. Cubic, ease out, let's go with ease in instead. And now let's repeat with the rolling animation. Select all, cubic, let's try ease out. This one speeds up at the beginning and slows down at the end. Let's undo this to try another option. Let's move this handle. Let's see. I'm gonna undo this. Instead, we could move this handle to slow the beginning down only. With the beginning being slowed down, we could also ease the end of the animation. Now it's too fast, but if we move this last keyframe, it's gonna look better. Avoid the keyframe going up, since it will change its values. Let's see. You could animate other objects using the same techniques, and you could also add more animations to this scene by following this tutorial. If you made it this far, thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Bye!